It is October 26th, 2021. We have 5 games on today's NBA slate. I'm going to go through them with you guys and give you my 2 cents. Sixers at Knicks. Embiid questionable, Drummond questionable, Noel questionable as far as the injuries go. Knicks are coming off of a pretty big letdown loss the other day. Lost to the Magic. The Magic were the biggest underdog of the day, and they beat the Knicks on a pretty poor shooting night. I said this yesterday. The Knicks shot pretty terribly. Randall, RJ, and Fournier, they combined for 5 of 24 from three-point land. I think it was like 16 of 52 from the field in general. You're just not going to win a lot of games like that. Hopefully they'll bounce back after that poor shooting night in the last game. The Sixers are a pretty good road team, and the Knicks are a pretty good home team. I think that Embiid plays. I think if he was going to rest, it probably would have been against the Thunder, and he should play this game. The line opened up -1 Sixers. It's now moved to +1.5 Sixers, and even +2 on some books, and kind of shifting around 1.5, 2 throughout the day. I'm going to have to roll with the Knicks, I'm going to have to roll with the Sixers on this one, plus the points, give you a little bit of a cushion there. OKC at GSW. OKC's looked awful to start the season. They're losing by an average of 22 points a game. Last year they lost by an average of, I think it was 10.5 points a game. Golden State's a good team. They're going to get even better once they're healthy, and they have Wiseman and Kuminga and Clay back. But even without those pieces, this team looks really good, and definitely not a match for OKC. But anything can happen. We just saw, like I said, the Magic, who are also a terrible team, beat the Knicks in MSG. So anything can happen, but I'm going to have to roll with this hot Warriors team, -9. I'll lay the points with them. Rockets at Mavericks. Line is opening up -11 in favor of the Mavericks. This is a interstate rivalry matchup between these two teams. Porzingis, it looks like he's gonna play, but he has quite the shiner on his face. He's got a pretty big black eye, bump heads with somebody on the Raptors in the last game. He posted a picture on social media, and I'll put that in the description below. But his right eye was like swollen shut, couldn't even see out of it. So I imagine he's probably going to wear a mask. Masks have in the past typically affected shooters, which that's all this guy does, even though he's 8'3". Doesn't ever want to get his big ass on the block and just likes to shoot threes because he thinks he's a guard. But it might affect his shooting. It might discourage him from getting on the block even more than he already is discouraged to get on the block. This Mavs team is good. It's a lot of points to lay for them, and I'm definitely leaning towards the Rockets +11 in this one to keep it somewhat close in a rivalry game. Rockets were 2-1 against the Mavs last year, with an average point differential of +7 in those 3 games. Obviously, some different pieces on these teams, a lot of the same pieces, but Kristaps wasn't there, Jalen Green wasn't there. Jalen Green started the season pretty cold. I think he was 2 of 10 in his first 2 games from three-point land, and then was 8 of 10 in his last game. So, maybe he's starting to find a little bit of the rhythm and coming into himself a little bit. And, I think I'll take the Rockets +11 on this one. Lakers at Spurs. Line opened -4.5 in favor of the Lakers. First glance, I wanted to stay very, very far away from that game. The Lakers have had a flurry of chemistry issues. They were even fighting each other on the bench of that Suns game. So, I don't know. And the Lakers were 0-3 against the spread, favored in each of those games that they played. LeBron is questionable. He was questionable. He's now been downgraded to doubtful. Last game, the Lakers shot 53% from 3 and just barely won that game, just because Ja Morant missed a game-tying free throw with I think it was 3 or 5 seconds left. He missed. Even though I probably shouldn't, I'm going to take the Lakers here -2.5 because that's where the lines moved. At -4.5, I was a little bit more concerned about taking this game or playing this game, but -2.5 is just too tempting. I'm going to fall for the trap here and and take the Lakers. I think even if LeBron doesn't play, I think Westbrook would actually have a good game if LeBron doesn't play, because he can be the primary ball handler and get into his offense, where he's been the biggest chemistry issue in my opinion over these first 3 games. He just doesn't fit into the roster at all. With LeBron out, if he doesn't play, I think that might be good for him to be able to be the primary ball handler in the game, and get the looks that he's used to getting, and play the way that he's used to playing, being that ball handler. So yeah, I'll take the Lakers -2.5 there. Nuggets at Jazz. Nuggets played an absolutely atrocious game against the Cavs. Turned it over. I think it was 22 turnovers, and the Cavs had 32 points off of those turnovers, I believe is what the number was. And obviously they're going to look to bounce back after that performance. They were also the biggest upset of that day. Cavs were the biggest underdog of the day, and they won that game. Well, I guess the Magic were a little bit more of an underdog against the Heat, but same but different. They got mopped by the Cavs, and Cavs aren't a bad roster, but it doesn't look good for them. Jazz are a really good home team. This is going to be in the Jazz's arena, and it's arguably the toughest arena to play in. Jazz were 31-5 at home last year. Looks like the Jazz were 2-1 against Denver last year with an average point differential of 0. So that tells me that they keep these games close. The one game that they won in Utah was a 7-point victory, so still, plus 7.5 where the line is. I still feel a little bit comfortable there. Although this is Denver's second game of a back-to-back at the beginning of the season, I don't know if that's going to affect them a whole bunch. I think I'm going to roll with the Nuggets on this one, plus 7.5 to keep this one close.